What's going on, everybody? We are back with episode number 239 of the Club and Sub podcast. Lags not able to make the show this week. Had a busy weekend. Didn't have a chance to look at the cards. So I brought my boy and a friend of the podcast, Pepe Silvia, on to do the show tonight. Big card, UFC 321. How you doing, Pepe?
Huge shoes to fill this week with Lags not being able to be there, but you can always count on me. Big game hunter over here with this UFC 321 pay-per-view, third last pay-per-view of the year. So Mackenzie Durn fight week. Crazy that my future, I don't know if you remember my future with Ankalaev and Durn to be champ by the end of the year burned in flames because Alex Pereira is just a meme, man. I didn't really see that coming, but
you could have argued for huge cash too if you won.
Fuck DraftKings for not letting me bet Mackenzie Durn straight to be champ at the end of the year. Made me parlay some bullshit, and they got away with one. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I'm excited for this card.
Yeah, me too. It's honestly awesome, and it's in the afternoon, which I also really like. You know, my wife's taking the kids to her mom's house for the day, so I'm gonna get to watch it solo. It's gonna be excellent.
6 monitors, live betting, college football, and the UFC.
Filling Mac bets while UFC pay-per-view is going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, if you like the show, drop a like, subscribe, help us out. And yeah, let's jump into it. 14 fight slate, I believe. First fight of the night, we got Mizuki Inoue taking on Jacqueline Amarim. Amarim, big favorite. She's minus 400. The comeback on Inoue is plus 330. What do you think here, Pepe?
I think that I'm going to stay the fuck away from this fight from a betting perspective. I think there's just a little too many unknowns for me to care to get involved with this. I'm high on Amarim, so I'm not really looking to fade her, although the market is kind of forcing you to put you in a position where you kind of want to fade her because to be real, her level of competition has been pretty bad. They're building her really slow because of the Sam Hughes fight where she gassed out. And we haven't seen her tested, like face any kind of adversity. I want to see her fight like a Lupi Godinez type fighter, like someone who's really well-rounded. Pilastri would be an interesting matchup for Amarim. As far as this fight, I'm just going to sit back and watch. No interest in betting. What about you?
I'm Mizuki curious, I would say. I haven't made a decision if I'll go on it or not. I have like, from a fight style perspective, I don't think it's like the worst spot to fade Amarim with. You know, Mizuki, she comes from a decent gym. She's a decent grappler. She's a better striker. She's a pretty good boxer. She is not very physical, which is kind of like one of my bigger concerns in the context of this fight is that, you know, we have seen Mizuki kind of get hossed. Granted, it was by Amanda Lemos, so, you know, don't want to put too much stock into that. But I do think Amarim is a bit of a specimen while she's fresh. I guess, I don't know, like if I was breaking it down just based on styles, like I think Mizuki's got good enough grappling to get off her back here to defend some takedowns and like potentially strike competitively. The biggest concern for me is she's 31 years old. You know, she's only, which is pretty young, but she's only had at 31, you'd expect her to have a pretty active career at this point in her career. Instead, she's got 3 fights in 7 years. Like she barely fights. I know she had major injuries a couple years back. So that concerns me, but I do look at it and I feel like Amarim's going to get her down early. She's just too big, too fast, and she'll probably get to some decent positions. It could be a decent spot to live bet. I think if Mizuki shows up in form and it turns out, you know, she's been putting the work in, like she could make a decent, you know, be decently live here. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, what do you think the odds are that Amarim finishes?
Here's something else I'll bring into the conversation. Like the thing about Inoue, her ceiling in this matchup is like minus 150, whereas Amarim's ceiling is minus 1,000. I think for me personally, if I think Inoue is live, then I'll just take the over because that over is fairly priced if you want to fade a early Amarim finish.
Yeah, I actually would go even a step further than that and say her ceiling is kind of like small underdog personally. Just because I mean, maybe you can picture it. I really can't picture Inoue finishing this fight or, dominating any facet of it. Whereas I expect Amarim, irrespective of how round 2 and 3 go, to win round 1 at a pretty high clip and look pretty good doing it. So like you're right, her ceiling is very, very low. Yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, I hadn't really considered that. I feel like Mizuki's a decent fighter, but yeah, you're right. I'm going to probably pass it. What is the over at right now? I haven't even looked at totals.
I think it's around pick'em. Over 2.5 is plus money.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty interesting to me. I wouldn't mind that. Maybe take some of that and some Amarim decision.
What has Inoue been up to though?
I can't really tell. I know she was training with Murata for a bit, which like, a couple of years ago, I might have said that's something impressive, but like what has Kanako Murata really shown at this level? I don't think she's in New York anymore. So that's like one of my biggest concerns here. It's just like, it's pretty clear that MMA is not really a priority for her. 3 fights in 7 years at 31 years old. Like there's no way you can say that this is, where your priority is.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I still stand firm on if you think that Inoue has some value to just bet the over personally.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on, we have got Azat Moxum taking on Mitch Raposo. Current price, Moxum minus 400. The comeback on Raposo plus 330. I thought pre-tape I might bet Mitch here. I looked at it. Mitch is scrappy. He's a decent striker. He's a decent wrestler. He's not much of an athlete, though, at all, and not particularly physical. I could see him making it a competitive-ish fight where it's like, margins on rounds are like 60-40. But similar to the last fight, I can't picture Raposo really having big grappling success here. And if I can't picture him having that, his upside is fighting close with someone who's got the ability to finish the fight at any time, who's going to probably have the bigger optics, who's going to probably be higher volume. I thought Maxim performed fairly well against Tagir in his last performance. That impressed me. Tagir is really good. So I don't know, like maybe it's a little wide, but I tend to side with, Maxim as being a pretty good flyweight, Raposo being kind of, replacement level for the UFC. What do you think?
I think that it's probably I have no interest in laying the favorite price in this fight.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate at flyweight. I understand why Maxim is the favorite though. I would assume a lot of people are going to be playing the submission line on Maxim. I would think that's probably a popular way to get some of his upside. Given that Raposo was submitted by Jake Hadley.
Yeah, that was horrible. I bet Raposo there too.
Yeah, he's just not very good, is he?
No.
The Sholinian one was really bad.
I will say, to your point, like I think that's a pretty good argument for Raposo, the lack of guys separating at flyweight. I mean, he was clearly beaten by Sue for what we thought clearly, and he managed to scrap it to being a split decision. Like weird shit does tend to happen at flyweight, and we have seen Maxim gas before. He did gas bad against Charles Johnson, so it's not inconceivable. Maybe something funky could happen here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. He's fought on 3. This is his 3rd pay-per-view in a row for Raposo. I would imagine they seem to kind of be using him to get opponents wins. And they want to get Azat a win here. That's kind of my take. But on the other hand, flyweights don't really separate. And he has the tools to make it a close fight. He's a grinder. He's still young. He's definitely live in this fight. So yeah, minus 400 is a little too rich for me. But it's almost similar to the last fight though too, where it's like if you think Raposo has value, the over is probably a safer bet.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I was just looking at that. The goes the distance at minus 150 doesn't really seem that bad for a men's flyweight fight where one side has almost no finishing equity. And even on the Moxum side, he hurt Charles, but he hasn't hurt like too many guys at this level, you know? So, and Raposo's tough. So, but we move on to the Super Bowl. This really should be the main event. We've got Hamdi Abdulah. He's taking on Chris Barnett. The current price, Hamdi minus 450. The comeback on Chris Barnett plus 350. What do you think here, Pepe?
I think this is a fucking banger, dude. I took some Hamdi in this spot. Can't say that I'm super passionate about it or not a little worried to be laying mega juice on Hamdi, but this is got to be the easiest fight at heavyweight for sure. In my opinion, for Hamdi, Chris Barnett, just, you know, he's a blown up welterweight in my opinion. Like just having his dimensions at heavyweight is just absolutely absurd. He's a
teddy bear.
Yeah, he's a meme fighter. I don't take him serious at all. You know, if he beats me, he beats me. I'm okay with that. But Hamdi should be able to get him down. And I think this is probably the one fighter in the division that Hamdi will have a cardio advantage against. So, yeah, barring Hamdi, you know, not like walking into a spinning wheel kick, I think he should be pretty good to roll here.
I didn't play it, but I honestly gave some thought at minus 350 to playing it because I'm with you. Barnett's like, I mean, he's awesome, absolutely electric fighter, but he is like the worst fighter in potentially the entire organization. You know, he's fragile, he's gassy, he's a bad grappler, he's a bad striker. I think the chances of him being able to pull like a Collier type move here out of his hat seem pretty low, since even a tired Hamdi, I feel like, could just pretty easily take him down and control him there. So, yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of analysis to give here. Hamdi's got better hands. He hits harder. He's a much better wrestler. He's just a much better fighter.
He's way bigger.
Yeah, much bigger. He can kick legs, which Barnett hates. I mean, Chris Barnett just hates getting hit, if we're being honest. He just melts anytime guys.
His body's falling apart too.
Yeah, I mean, he's here to get a check, and that's it.
Get that ARAP money, bro.
Yeah, I got to do something about the mic light, but you know, it's a nice little stylistic here. Moving on, we have a really interesting fight here. You and I have not really talked about this fight much this week. I'm genuinely curious to have your opinion. We got Jose Delgado. He's taking on the prospect Nathaniel Wood. Bit crazy, some of the names that are fighting ahead of Wood on this card, to be honest, but current price, Delgado, he's a favorite, minus 142. The comeback on Wood, plus 122. For me personally, I feel like I see the angle for a Wood bet, you know, in terms of the fact that he's much more experienced. He's fought a higher level of competition. He's obviously an excellent striker. He's a decent grappler, very well-rounded fighter. He's been in the UFC for a while, very fast. Should have a fairly pronounced speed advantage in this fight. At the same time, I bet Morgan Charrier against Wood last fight, near post, got burned for it. But the principles that went into that bet were, you know, Nathaniel Wood's really good, but, you know, he's small for the division. He's pretty chinny. I mean, that's kind of it for me. You know, he's a small guy who's pretty chinny. We saw him get Haas bad by Naimov. And I worry that against physical featherweights, he's going to really struggle in this division. And, you know, he's getting a pretty physical featherweight in Jose Delgado. I still think the jury's out on Delgado and what he'll be, but the guy's got big power. He's dangerous. He's fast. He can grapple. He really can do it all. Like, skill for skill, it's a close fight in my opinion. You might even lean Wood. I probably would lean Wood, skill for skill. And he's just so much more proven. But I do think Delgado's got a lot more finishing equity in this fight. I think he's got a bit more moment equity in the fight. I think Delgado's probably going to be improving a fair amount fight to fight here, whereas I think Wood is more or less what he is. So I do just tend to think there's a lot more upside on the Delgado side. And given, it's priced so close, like I'm kind of fine, not really planting a flag on it. What do you think?
Well, I figured you brought in that background for Nathaniel Fight Week, and you're like, I'm gonna lay the Wood, massive Wood, big Wood, huge. I think that in this fight, I would prefer to be on the Delgado side personally, just because Nathaniel Wood is a pussy, in my opinion. He's very skilled, but he's so due for getting knocked out. And I would just rather be on the side of Delgado, 6 years younger. Is that 6 years or 5 years younger? Just stepping more stepping into his prime, I would say. The more dangerous guy, in my opinion. And Wood is just someone that I want to fade, man, to be honest with you. The Naimov performance was pathetic. The Feely fight was pathetic. Like, man, Feely dropped the ball so hard there. That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, Wood's in a lot of close fights. I mean, almost with the exception of like Jourdain, who he just kind of ran over.
Yeah, like Charles. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You beat Charles Rosa on short notice. Like, I'll be interested in Nathaniel Wood when he's fighting at home and they're giving him like a cherry picked matchup. But other than that, no, thank you. I would like to be looking at the Delgado TKO stuff.
Yeah.
Totally what is that? What are the?
Let's take a look. Delgado,
because Wood should have been knocked out in more fights than he actually has.
Let's see. I'm trying to find props right now.
250, around 250.
Horrible. I mean, I do think that's like if you think Delgado's true price is minus 150, like 60%, I do think he's got to be in like the 35% range to knock out Wood, right? Like if it's a clean decision without a lot of moments, I feel like Wood's going to win that fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, the under is actually interesting.
What's it at right now?
Pick 'em.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Wood could finish. It's just like I hate. Like you had like an under, I think I bet Feely and Wood under at like plus 250, and now it's like, oh great, that one almost hit like 3 separate times and lost, and now it's like pick 'em with Jose Delgado. It's like it's actually it's just kind of the market adjusting, I guess, and that's also why I just don't think I can do business with Wood. It's like I faded him with Morgan Charrier. Like, can I really? I'd feel so bad fading him there and then turning around and betting Wood and him finally getting knocked out here. So
yeah, and so the under 2.5 minus 115, like to your point, like you said, you bet the under in the Wood fight. Both the Wood fight and the Naimov fight were pretty damn close to finishing on both sides. Like Wood got dropped fucking immediately against Naimov. And rocked against Feely bad, and then he hurt Feely on the other hand, and then he came close to finishing Naimov. So I think with Delgado's pressure and
he's gonna force a phone booth fight.
Yeah, so I think under 2.5 at Pick'em is solid actually, because even Delgado even got dropped in LFA, so. His level of competition has been sus too.
Very, 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 very sus. Yeah, I mean, he got owned by Makate. I didn't really. That's kind of the weird thing with this fight. Like, I didn't really love his performance on Contender Series against Ernie Juarez either. He was kind of, I don't want to say melting, but he was kind of starting to get hit. The issue for me is just like, I feel the athleticism gap is very big here. And I think the power gap is pretty significant here as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it and it should be Wood, but like I'm pretty okay without planting a flag on it. Moving on, we have got a funny fight here. Walter Walker taking on Louis Sutherland. Current price, Walker minus 325. The comeback on Sutherland plus 275. I mean, I don't have a lot to say here. Badly dominated Louis Sutherland. I feel like Walker has the tools to like be this price and then some. I guess the issue that I have with Walter Walker, and I brought it up when he was supposed to fight. What was it? Last week he was supposed to fight, I think.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I brought it up then. One of these days, the heel hook's not going to work. More likely than not going to be this fight. If he goes for it, and he's going to end up with someone on top of him, beating his ass and give away a fight that way. I still have that concern for him. And I have it here because I don't think Sutherland's terrible on top. He's just not a good wrestler. But having said that, it really should be an easy fight for Walter Walker. Sutherland's got decent power, but he's not a particularly technical striker. He's a pretty bad defensive wrestler. He's pretty bad on bottom. I think Walker's got better cardio. I think he can get this fight down whenever he wants. I think he should be fine if he fights reasonably intelligently. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, the only thing I'm looking at is whether it's going to be Walker by point, Walker KO, or Walker by submission. I'm pretty low on Sutherland. I bet Tafa pretty big against him in that fight that got canceled.
Yeah, same. I do think the Walker decision prop is probably starting to turn into, something that the market is just pricing a lot of recency bias into. It's plus 350 on Bet Online right now, which seems like.
Well, the thing about Sutherland is I don't think he's ever fought anyone who has any jiu-jitsu.
He hasn't, but like, I mean, look, I'm sure Walker knows how to rear naked choke somebody, but I also feel like, the way Walker has been fighting is not conducive to winning by submission at this level. He's going to probably have to process sub him. I mean, maybe it'll be a fourth straight heel hook. Maybe that's possible. I'm kind of willing to fade that happening. And I feel like, let's not forget, Walter Walker did go to a decision that he lost with Lucas Dresky.
Yeah.
I do not think he's going to lose this fight, but I do think, the fight to go long, like the over 1.5 and potentially, the Walker decision interests me. I mean, even the Tafa fight with Walker, it was pretty on track to like go long before Walker grabbed the heel hook,
Yeah. I was gonna do some digging to see if Sutherland's been doing any grappling on his spare time.
I mean, I doubt it. He doesn't look like he's done much.
I know. He's like, to me, he's like a regional level fighter. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what he is. It's a shame that we lost the Tafa spot because, like, I don't want to lay this kind of chalk at heavyweight. I feel like so many bad things can come from that unless you're fading Chris Barnett. That's the in which case a spinning wheel kick to a man 5 inches taller than you is the only thing that can come from it.
Yeah, that'll be great going into Saturday with minus 350 on Hamdi and minus 350 on Walter Walker.
Moving on, really cool fight here. We have what's his first name? Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi. He's minus 117. The comeback, Mateus Camilo is minus 103. Honestly, I taped this like a little bit earlier today. I don't know if I'll bet the Camilo side, but I do kind of lean in that direction. I feel like, what did you say?
Why?
Process-wise, I mean, Al-Sawadi is considerably better, in my opinion. Obviously, good output, good cardio, good grappling game. He's fought better competition. I mean, the way Camilo lost to Gabriel Green was really, really ugly. But I also think Camilo kind of blew his tank in that fight. And I think he's really good on the feet while he's fresh. He's got fast hands. He's got power. Now, that might not matter if you can't find the knockout shot on Alawadi, but I have a feeling Alawadi's output isn't going to be what it's been in some fights, like the Hardwick fight, with the threat of the KO being there. And if that is the case, I think it opens the door up for Camilo, winning rounds off, low volume, landing a couple shots here or there. Obviously, he's got a fair amount of KO equity. I mean, if Alawadi can enforce the pace that he wants to enforce, he's going to win this fight. But it's worth mentioning that, like, even the Loic fight, I mean, there was a fair amount of grappling in it, but like distance, the volume was pretty low. And I think it was in part because of how much power Loic was bringing to the table there. And I think Alawadi is pretty cognizant of the fact that his chin is not very good. And he's not he's a very smart fighter. So, like, I don't think he's going to come out here and brawl with Camilo. And if he doesn't brawl with Camilo or push a heavy pace, I feel it's going to open the door for Camilo to potentially win low volume minutes or find a knockout or just have a couple moments. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting fight. There's a chance that it's lined perfect at Pick'em. What I will say about Camilo is I kind of think he is a fraud, to be honest with you. But I think a lot of that is because he has some hype because he's 24 years old and, he has a couple finishes and he looks the part. Like, he's super fucking jacked and he looks like a scary Brazilian guy. He's like, oh my God, he's only 24. He's going to be a fucking superstar. But, the fact of the matter is he's now been submitted in 3 fights professionally, 2 of which were against low level of competition.
He got some quit in him too.
Yeah, he does. He has shown poor cardio in multiple fights. He doesn't have a single solid win on his resume. So a lot of it, in my opinion, is wishful thinking on the Camilo side. But then you have to bet Alawadi, and, we don't have to speculate. We know he has a bad chin, but he's definitely fought the way better level of competition, in my opinion. Like you said, he has the better process.
He's the better fighter. But
yeah, overall skill for skill, he's the better fighter. He has to skate on a little bit of thinner margins because his finishing instincts are pretty bad. I wish he was a little more dangerous in either the grappling or on the feet. He's more of like a volume striker. But I would imagine that he's going to try to do a lot of clinching early and try to take Camilo down, try to get his grappling going, try to grind on him. And I think if he doesn't get bonked, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, there's a non-zero chance that, Alawadi could look -400, -500 in this fight, right? I don't really see that on the Camilo side, short of an early KO. The Loic fight bugs me a bit because he kind of had, and I know he got knocked out, and, that's obviously the downside with him, but he did kind of have Loic dead to rights in that fight, as the fight was going on, and it just all kind of unraveled for him with the knockout. And yeah, I don't know. I might be overthinking it, to be honest. I feel like every time I try to like back, the grappler in this kind of spot, they end up getting, lit up and knocked out. And it also wouldn't take a lot for, like, if Alawadi doesn't finish him, would it be that crazy for Camilo to get dropped twice or hurt bad in 2 rounds and or for Alawadi, I should say, to get hurt bad in 2 rounds and like lose the fight? I don't think it's that crazy,
Sorry, what did you say? Would it be crazy for Alawadi to get dropped twice?
Or like, what I mean is like, let's say like they have a low volume early first round that he loses, and then there be a moment or, get dropped or something like that and lose a decision. Like, I think that's that's
definitely, yeah. But that's priced in already. It's not like,
that's true. I don't think I wouldn't bet Camilo with a minus in front of his name, but
yeah, exactly. It's an interesting fight, and Loic is actually a pretty damn good fighter. Yeah, like Dogfather is saying, Loic's a tough son of a bitch. Like Loic has a win over Esteban Ribovics. He's like not a pushover whatsoever.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He also got molested on the mat by Trey Ogden, who's a pretty good grappler, but it's like,
Yeah, and fucking Camilo got submitted by Gabe Green and
so
two
bad.
regional guys. So
That's if I was gonna, but I'll say this: if I was gonna be on the Alawadi side, I mean, it's probably priced in, right? I'm checking what is like 2-3 and sub 2-3 stuff are right now, because that is like kind of what would interest me, because I think a lot of him, realizing big value is going to be on the back of him just pumping Camilo on the back end of this fight, in my opinion.
yeah, I don't know what the prices are. They're not fully out yet.
2,200 sub 2. No, that's sub 3. 1,800 sub 2. It's not awful. It's not great.
Yeah, I haven't made my final thoughts up yet on this one. I kind of want to see where the market goes, how they look at weigh-ins.
Yeah. Moving on, we got a great fight here. Mateusz Rebecki, he's taking on Ludovic Klein. Current price, Klein nicely reverse CLV'd me. He's minus 150. The comeback on Rebecki's plus 130. I've never made it a secret. I'm not a huge fan of Ludovic Klein. I do have a fair amount of concerns about Rebecki coming off, I mean, he's had 2 fights in the last, 6 months, and they have both been pretty brutal fights. And he just keeps turning around, and it does concern me for sure, especially with a guy like Klein, who's got a fair amount of power. Having said that, though, I just don't like the way Klein deals with aggressive fighters. It seems like every time he fights someone aggressive, his kind of default has been, like was in the Bahamondes fight, to shoot, when he's getting uncomfortable. When he hasn't been able to do that, though, and lean into the grappling, he has looked pretty bad. He completely, I know it's Mateusz Gamrot. I don't want to take that away from the fact that he lost to Gamrot. Like, who cares? It's not Rebecki. But the way he seemed to just completely check out of that fight on the back end of the fight, to me, was very, very ugly. The way he collapsed against Landwehr was very, very ugly. He's had, he beat Mason Jones, good win, but not a great win. The Ignacio fight, he was able to bail himself out with grappling. But, even AJ Cunningham was landing shots on him, while he was coming after him, even though he got knocked out. I am like, all Rebecki's going to do here is go forward. If he gets on top of him, he can probably control him for a fair amount of the fight. I think Rebecki's cardio concerns are kind of irrelevant for the most part here, because I think if Klein tries to match his pace, he's going to probably gas himself. We've seen that before. And I just don't think Klein's game is super functional on the back foot. I do think he can knock Rebecki out. I do think he can have moments. I just feel like Rebecki's a pretty tough style matchup for him. So I like him a bit here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's this should be a good fight, interesting fight to break down. The first thing that stuck out to me when breaking this matchup down was just how quick Rebecki was coming back after the war with Chris Duncan. It was only 2 months ago, and he absorbed like 100 significant strikes, got his ass kicked. He did some ass kicking himself. Like, it wasn't that it was like super one-sided or anything, but it was a war. And generally, you would want to see a fighter take at least 4 months off and especially this isn't his first war. The Oralby fight was fucking insane. But my second thought is he was just minus 250 to Chris Duncan, and now he's plus money to Klein. So that doesn't really make sense. Klein, it's weird because Klein has a couple very good wins on his record with Mason Jones and Ignacio Bahamondes, which and both fights he landed a power shot in round 1 that kind of changed the trajectory of the fight, and then leaned on his grappling to win the rounds 2 or 3. So I could potentially see something like that happening here because of how hittable Rebecki is. It's just I couldn't lay the juice on Klein personally. Like I'm not interested in that. I thought I would be, but just thinking about it a little bit more, like you said, like pace and pressure fighters have given him issues his entire career. Like, yes, I think a big question that I have in this fight is how easy will it be for Klein to get Rebecki down and kind of deter the pressure? What do you think about his ability to land takedowns against Rebecki?
I mean, I think he can. I just feel like Rebecki scrambles pretty well, you know, like Oralbai couldn't really dominate the grappling against him, and Oralbai is like a much, much better grappler than Klein is, in my opinion. And the other it's weird, like you just nailed it. I don't want me to go in circles here, but like the weird thing with like I've seen Klein struggle with fighters that someone like you brought up the good wins against Bahamundes, you know, it's a great win in retrospect. But I mean, the dude should have lost to Jai Herbert and was controlled for like large stretches of that fight. He had to like wrestle for dear life to beat Roosevelt Roberts, you know, in France. I like the guy has had some, he literally went to a 50-50 split decision with Devontae Smith. You know, he's had some like really sketchy fights with really not very good fighters, you know, whereas Rebecki, okay, he lost to Chris Duncan. Duncan, it turns out, is actually pretty good. He kind of gassed out against Diego Fajeda. He destroyed Loic. Like he beat Oralbai. I feel like Rebecki, he's probably not as good as people thought he was coming into the UFC, but he's serviceable and he's not afraid, you know, he's going to go forward. And I also think the leg kicks in this fight could be like a huge deal. Like Rebecki throws him hard and Klein is going to be there to kick for him, you know?
What are your thoughts on the total, the under 2.5 at plus 115?
I am interested in it.
Yeah.
I also think it builds in a decent amount of Rebecki's downside, to be honest. Not that Klein can't win a decision. He obviously could. But I feel like if we get Rebecki, who looks like fucked off of, you know, that last fight, betting the under is a pretty good cover for it, you know.
Has Klein ever fucking won by submission?
That is a good question. I mean, he must have. He grapples a fair amount.
Yeah, but my memory of him grappling is he doesn't really do shit from top.
He has 8 submission wins, but it looks like they're all against, you know, rubbish regionally.
Yeah. That would be. I guess he would probably have to club and sub him.
Yeah. I can't imagine him process subbing Rebecki. I actually think grappling entanglements for Klein, if Rebecki is like conscious, are probably bad. Dude, he's so bad on his back, man. Klein is. If he gets
I know. It's just kind of difficult to get him down there.
Yeah.
But you know, I also think that like Rebecki is much better in a dogfight. And he definitely has the better jiu-jitsu of the two.
Yeah.
Even though fucking for some reason he couldn't finish Nick Fiore.
Which is crazy, honestly.
Yeah, it is. Like that's the thing about Rebecki is he's a gassy boy too. So
very.
I will say it's a volatile fight. I'm kind of surprised at all the money coming in on Klein. I figured it would be closer to a pick'em.
Yeah, it got down. It was the line I thought was getting away from me, and I bet it at 115. And then I woke up today and saw 130. I was like, okay, I'll just go fuck myself.
Maybe some people in the know realize how bad he's compromised.
Sean Orr's calling for a Dan Tom Southpaw report. We might need it.
Yeah.
So it keeps the people coming back. Moving on, though. Cool fight here. Ikram Maliscarov taking on Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Kind of a low-key banger. Current price, Maliscarov minus 240. Comeback on Park, plus 205. What are your thoughts here, Pepe?
I think from a betting perspective, it's got to be Turtle or pass. I mean, plus 220. The thing on Ikram is, like, how can you really know for sure how good this guy is? Like, the fight that gives me the most pause on him is the Nashon Burrell fight. And because like his wins in the UFC have been over like the lowest level guys. So it's really hard to evaluate his total skill set. Like he came over, like he got, who's the last person Whitaker knocked out too?
Oh,
Not till like not to diss Whitaker, because obviously,
I mean, it might have been Jacare.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Like Whitaker hasn't KO'd anyone, and he ran through Ikram. Like Ikram didn't even last 7.5 minutes. And people will probably be like, "Oh, short notice." You can't make excuses all the time for fighter outcomes just because you don't want to count it into your capping. I think that the Iron Turtle certainly has his issues. He can be taken down, like in the Muniz fight. He can be dropped, like in the Tavares fight. But, with what we have seen from Ikram, like I don't really see why he would be a massive favorite.
I am having a very difficult time picturing the fight playing out, to be honest with you. Like Ikram, it's weird because the dude has just had, he hasn't been extended in a single fight in the UFC, and it's been like, to your point, he didn't look very good when he got extended with Nishan Burnell a few years ago. I didn't even think he looked particularly great against Phil Hawes, but prior to knocking him out. So, but I also don't want to call him a fraud because the guy's obviously got serious power. He's obviously a pretty good grappler. Park, I don't want to say he's getting up there, but he's not a young man anymore. He's at 34 years old. And like Park, to your point, he will give up takedowns. He can get cracked. He does tend to keep coming or has good recoverability. And I do think, if Ikram does go to the wrestling here, at the back end of this fight, it's going to be sweaty as fuck for him. At the same time, what really bothers me is I really did not love, now granted, he took some brutal fouls in that fight. I didn't love how Park looked against Nordiev, though. He looked massively outspeeded in that fight. And I feel like Nordiev is just a much shittier version of Ikram, though Ikram doesn't tend to wrestle as much as Nordiev does. But I don't know. I lean Park just because I feel like for Ikram to do what he needs to do to win this fight by decision, it's almost certainly going to tax his gas tank. And it probably means he loses round 3 at a pretty good clip. And round 2 turns into your proverbial swing round. I do worry Park's going to get knocked out soon, though. He's been hurt a few times. He got hurt pretty badly by Nordiev. And I do think, Ikram landing, 4 or 5 takedowns and, possibly just like milking the first 2 rounds out that way is pretty live. I just don't know how to price that. I mean, how do you think it's good? Do you think Ikram's going to come out grappling, or you think he's going to strike him?
I think it's a really volatile middleweight matchup, and one where we don't have enough data to really properly predict, like with fair bit of certainty, how it's going to play out because of Ikram's lack of UFC experience and how his fight, like they matched him up with fucking Phil Hawes, Warley Alves, and Andre Muniz in his wins. And then he got fucking knocked out by Whitaker in 2 minutes. So how much can we really know about him, honestly?
Not a lot. Not a lot. And that's the other thing, because like I know he obviously hits hard, don't get me wrong, but I am skeptical he hits as hard as the market has been pricing him hitting. Everybody knocks out Andre Muniz if they don't get submitted.
Well,
everybody knocks out Park. Not Park.
That's another one of the issues with, like, obviously Park has his issues, and people can make plenty of counter arguments, just like I was when I started thinking about the matchup in terms of this guy has fought close with Tavares, Muniz, Eric Anders. His wins are pretty low level in terms of Duraev, Tululin, Holmes. But even the Tafan fight was a split, even though it
was very sweaty. If he doesn't get going, I think the issue with Park is he's got, like, if he can get going downhill and you start to slow, he can really pour it on you. But if you don't, he doesn't really have all that much power or a way to assert himself.
He kind of sucks in round 1.
Yeah. And most of his wins tend to be on the back of him just taking over via cardio, which I think is pretty live here.
Yeah. The point I was going to make was, like, he's fighting close in a lot of these fights. Like, the only time he got really blown out was the Gregory Rodriguez fight.
Right. It's one of those things that, like, if it turns out Ikram's like a top 5 guy, he's probably going to win pretty easily, to be honest. If it turns out he's more of like a top 20 guy, the line is almost certainly wide.
Sean said Park's a neutralizer and has no upside. The issue, I just don't know, like, is Ikram chinny? Because, like,
He might
Robert Whitaker is kind of a neutralizer too.
He is a neutralizer. Chimaev knocked him out cold too.
Yeah, who the fuck is Chimaev knocking out?
Yeah, nobody on the Gerald Mearshart and Ikram.
Yeah, 2 frauds.
Yeah. I do tend to agree with Dog. Like, if he can get his pace going and he gets to a point where he's not worried about the firepower coming back at him, I think he can really take over.
Well, and it's like okay, you're getting plus 200 on a guy with great cardio who is well-rounded against a guy that you kind of have to make a bunch of guesses on, like how good he actually is, who's been KO'd multiple times.
Yeah, he's Ikram. There's almost as much unknowns as him as one of the guys headlining this card.
Dude, Ikram definitely looks the part, though.
He does look the part, and I tend to think his power is legit. But I think there's still a bit of an unknown there.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried that he can chin Park.
What's the total? What's the market saying here? What's the total?
It's 2.5 pick'em. Dude, a lot of these fights are under 2.5 pick'em. There's a lot of volatile fights.
It is pretty volatile. I tend to think that if it goes the distance, Park's going to look pretty big value.
Yeah, and they're saying, more than half the time they think it's going to go over.
I will say I do think most of the under equity is likely Ikram, though, winning by finish.
Yeah.
Moving on, banger fight here. I know we both have an opinion. I'll throw it to you first. Cool and Saul killed. He is taking on Nazare Hakparas. Hakparas is -119. The comeback on Saul killed -101. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Saul killed in this spot. I think that he's quite an interesting prospect, and I think that we're potentially getting a very playable number on him because he's fighting on short notice and because of where they're fighting. I think a lot of people are thinking that Nazare is going to get like some sort of rub when it comes to judges, but I don't really cap that too much into my process, like maybe a couple percent, but not as heavily as other people, where I feel like a lot of times that narratives like that kind of blind people in the matchup. But in terms of the matchup, like the way that I view Nazare is he's serviceable. Like a lot of people think that the Gordon fight was a robbery. I don't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a close fight. I don't think it was horrible that they gave Nazare that win. But if you go through his opponents, he hasn't fought like an athletic grappler at all. Like somehow he's been skating by, probably on good matchmaking because the UFC likes him a bit. But with Saul killed, this guy, I really like his process. I think he has super high upside. He much higher upside than Nazare in the division. Just his sheer pace alone is insane. What does he have? 15 takedowns.
Yeah, dude, he attempted 20 plus takedowns in both Contender Series and his debut.
Yeah, so I mean, I was kind of thinking that Saul killed was going to be like -1. I have him like around -160, -170. If you go back and watch the Dan Hooker fight, and people will excuse the Dan Hooker performance because it was short notice, but like, dude, who is Dan Hooker out grappling and like wrestling? And
literally no one.
And like when you go back and watch and you see Nazare on his back, it's ugly, man. Like I was shocked with how bad of a grappler that Nazare is. And I was thinking that his takedown defense is really good because of the Gordon fight. But when you go back and watch, you notice that Gordon has no athleticism at all.
And Gordon, a lot of the time, wasn't committing on them. He was like using it to push him to the fence and then just letting go and wailing on him on the fence.
Yeah, he was using it as a form of pace. And so, yeah, I think that Salkeld is going to be able to get takedowns here. I think he will eventually get Nazare flat and, put on a dominant performance, or at least has the upside of putting on a very dominant performance. So, yeah, I like Q in the spot.
Yeah, I similar opinion. I feel like Salkeld, he's a lot like, I talked about him a bit with Daniel Santos a couple weeks back and Marab, but he's kind of got that same style where it's like he's so active in all realms, in the clinch, at distance, and he attempts a million takedowns. Like those guys are really, really hard to beat unless you can do something to deter them or knock them out. And I mean, Nazare could knock him out. I think Salkeld can be a bit hittable, but his chin looks pretty good to me, honestly. Like he ate some bombs from Ashmoos and seemed to just take them without really any issue. You brought up the Hooker fight. I agree with you about it. I think Nazare could defend some takedowns, but I also like that Salkeld tends to reactively change levels very well. Like he doesn't really he disguises his takedown attempts extremely well. And I think he's going to get some with Nazare rushing in. I think Nazare's going to have some issues getting off his back. I mean, Nazare really needs this to be kind of like a pretty fight, right? He's kind of outclassed in the clinch. Salkeld's the much better kicker of the two of them, and he's the much better wrestler of the two of them. He's much younger. He's probably improving at this point, I'd assume. I think he's got a great process. I also think it's kind of weird that I bet Gordon against Nazare. That sucked. I agree with you. It was a close fight, but he was like minus 250 in that spot. And then he turns around and he fights a very, very hittable striker in Esteban Ribovic, who is no real threat to knock him out, or not knock him out, to grapple him. And he goes off as plus 210 in that fight. And now he's here fighting, a pace grappler, a big physical pace grappler, and he's now a favorite. And I get it. It's a big step up for Salkeld, but let's go through Nazare Hackpress career. Very close fight with Ribovic. No shame there. Very close fight with Jared Gordon. I'd argue Salkeld athletically is a tier or so above Gordon, maybe even more than that. Landon Quinones, that ended up being a very, very close fight. And Quinones is pretty close to the bottom of the division, honestly. Rafa Garcia, very, very close fight. Dominated by Hooker, dominated by Bobby Green. Nazare really does not have a ton of great wins other than Ribovic. And Ribovic was kind of tailor-made for him in a lot of respects. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I think Nazare can obviously win this fight. He could win by knockout. Maybe he can defend a lot of takedowns to win 2 rounds here. But the upside on the Salkeld side is so much higher than it is on the Nazare side. I can't imagine. I have a hard time picturing Nazare just stuffing 20 takedowns and lighting him up for 3 rounds. That would be very, very difficult.
No. But he definitely has the upside to knock him out.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest portion of his win equity, to be honest with you.
If it turns out to be like the Malarkey fight.
Yeah, that would be awful. I did think he looked pretty uncomfortable with Hooker's kicks in their fight too, even in addition to the takedowns. And Salkeld does a lot of body kicking as well. So we'll see. But I'm with you. I feel like this is the time you want to get on a guy like Salkeld, not when he's minus 400, in a couple fights against better fighters.
Yeah. What do you think about the under?
What's it at? I'd be more inclined.
Plus 170.
It's not horrible. It's really not terrible. Because you get
Salkeld by KO. Knock this.
I kind of like Salkeld by submission, if anything, to be honest with you. If I was going to take a method shot.
Yeah. What is this price? 600.
The other thing is with the gassing stuff, I saw Just When Baby mention it in the chat, but Nazare has gassed in fights before. He gassed bad against Gordon at pace. He slowed down bad against Hooker from the body kicks and the grappling. He slowed down against Quinones. I feel like if Saul Kild's pushing an unsustainable pace, they're probably both going to gas, and I'd rather have the guy that's going to attempt a million takedowns in that kind of fight.
Yeah, and he's 25 years old.
Yeah. Moving on, though, interesting fight here. I don't have super strong opinions. It's Alexander Rakic. He's taking on Azamat Mzakanov. The current price, Mzakanov, the slightest of favorites, -114. The comeback on Rakic, -106. There's a part of me, I taped it, and like, part of me feels like Rakic should really win this fight. He's really got, much more skills. He's better boxer in the aggregate, much better kicker. He's a better grappler. He's much younger. He's fought the higher level of competition. But he is giving away a big speed advantage here. I think he's giving away a decent amount of power advantage. And there's just something with Rakic I can't put my finger on. Like he fights good fighters close, but he never really seems to separate from worse fighters. Like the dude, I know Volkan's a decent fighter, but he lost to Volkan. He fought Thiago Santos's corpse and went to basically a 50-50 decision with him, like low volume decision, which really just bugs me. Obviously he fought pretty well against Ankalaev last fight. But it's just weird to me because he just rarely ever seems to dominate fights. And Mrzakanov's old and gassy, and this should be Rakic all day. But dude, Mzakanov comes for you, man. He absolutely ran through Dustin Jacoby. He ran through Menifield, really fast hands, big power. And I feel like Rakic early in this fight is going to be under siege and very, very uncomfortable. I think if he can get comfortable through the first 6 or 7 minutes, he'll probably take over. But I do think Mzakanov can have some real success early on and potentially even knock him out. What do you think?
Well, I think Rakic kind of sucks, honestly. That being said, I'm gonna bet him. And it's because his level of competition has been really good, man. He's pick him with Yuri. He's -200 to Jan Blachowicz before he breaks his leg in round 3. And I personally am just not a believer in Mzakanov long term. I think that maybe he can win this fight, but I think he's a fade going forward. And it's because of his athleticism. It's because he's gotten cherry-picked opponents. And I think he's shown that he does slow down, and I just don't think that his way of winning fights is going to be sustainable as he moves up the rankings. And Rakic is just way bigger than him. He's fought the much higher level of competition. His fucking boxing sucks and he's very rigid on the feet, but he can land his leg kicks. He will be able to land as Azamat's closing the distance. I think he can intercept him coming in. He can grind on him. He can clinch him. He can tire him down. I don't know. Rewatching the Menifield fight, it was very jarring that Menifield was coming on in that fight and then just made himself defensively void and got himself knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, all the macro stuff favors Rakic insanely. He's fought so much better guys and fought pretty well against them in the aggregate. He's way bigger. He's way younger. He's got way better cardio. They're usually all things you want to get behind in this kind of a spot, right?
Nice height advantage for the head kick.
Yeah, that is true. And that I actually think that could be there for him. But yeah, I mean, I really think he should win pretty easy. I can't, when I'm taping it, get it out of my head that he's going to eat a couple of big left hands in this fight. And it's going to come down to whether or not he, kind of sacks up and hangs in there or whether he kind of just folds,
Yeah, sure. It's possible that, he gets rocked or he gets outboxed for 2 rounds. It's definitely not an 80% I don't cap him at like 80%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really intrigued about the matchup though. I'm excited. I could see some crazy shit go down.
I will say this is a good shout by Dogfather in the chat that Murs hated getting kicked by Tafon because like Tafon's really garbage and he was starting to like beat Mzakanov's ass before he ate that flying knee in that fight. Yeah, that I feel like that's a bullish take, to be honest. I don't know. I have to think about it some more. I hate Rakic so much, man. But
His game's like not very functional, but you go through and you look at the guys that he's fighting, he's like, who the fuck is blowing out Volkan Ozdemir?
Yeah.
Thiago Santos at that time. He's got fucking huge power you have to respect, especially 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And the Jan fight's kind of just an asterisk. And he fought well against Jiri.
Dude, he closed as a big favorite against, Blakovic.
And Jiri took him into the swamp. I mean, that's happens to a lot of guys. But
yeah, I mean, Yuri's the number. What is he? Number 2?
Number 1, I think.
Yeah. What are we doing?
I'll move on, though. We got Alexander Volkov taking on Jailton Almeida. Current price, Almeida minus 225. The comeback on Volkov plus 190. What do you think here, Pepe?
Why don't you go first? Because I think you're more bullish on a side here.
I like Almeida. And it's funny because like Almeida is a guy that I tried to fade for a while. So these spots usually just don't. I hate, kind of going back and like on someone that I tried to get in front of, which I guess we succeeded with Blades. So there's that. But I feel like we got lucky with that bet. Yeah, I mean, Volkov's a great fighter. I've bet on him a bunch in the past, obviously very good striking, great knees, nasty in the clinch, okay offensive grappler. I do feel like, though, his defensive grappling just isn't really up to snuff. He's had we have copious amounts of data at this point that kind of like suggest that, in my opinion, which, I mean, we had the Blades fight, obviously, he fought, Gane last fight, took him down multiple times and had like 4 minutes of control. You had the fight with Aspinall where he just looked absolutely lost on bottom. And he's getting Almeida here. And it's like, yeah, if he can keep it upright, he's going to beat his ass and finish him. If Almeida gasses out and he can keep it upright, he's going to beat his ass and finish him down the stretch. I guess for me, I don't think he can keep it upright. I'm pretty sure Almeida's going to get him down pretty quickly in this fight. I think Almeida can keep him there. I also think Almeida's cardio is not that bad, personally. And I think that's really what's kind of swinging me to him. Like, I was actually really impressed with Almeida against Blades, even though he lost that in fairly ugly fashion. But, like, he took him down 8 times in round 1, and he came out, and the shot he took right off the rip in round 2 was very fast and very powerful. It did not look like someone who was gassed. And then we saw him go 25 minutes with, Derek Lewis, and looked fine. Granted, not a ton of resistance from Derek Lewis, so, take it with a grain of salt. But then you saw him beat Spivak in round 2, and it's like his cardio still looked fine there. So I look at this, and like it's obviously a very, very binary fight, but I like Almeida's athleticism more. I think he'll get takedowns. I think even if he can't get Volkov out of there, I still think there's a pretty good chance that he can get him down and just body triangle him in round 2 and or round 3 as well. So maybe I'm overrating Almeida here and underrating Volkov. It's possible. I did bet Alexander Romanov against Volkov, and obviously that was tragic. But this is not Alexander Romanov, in my opinion. And I really think Almeida is probably the most skilled grappler he's ever fought, and I think he's going to handle him. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting fight. I think the big question comes down to how high you rate Jailton. And me and Drew were talking about this. And like if you rate Jailton as like the number 2 overall heavyweight, then you are okay laying this kind of juice against Volkov. I personally don't rate Jailton as the number 2 heavyweight because we just watched Volkov have a 50-50 fight with Cyril Gane, who's fighting for the belt against Aspinall. So it's hard not to rank the current heavyweights as Aspinall, Cyril Gane, and then Volkov number 3. So in order to lay heavy juice on Almeida here, you have to say that he's definitely ahead of both Volkov and Cyril Gane. I kind of like Volkov, honestly, in this spot. So I think Almeida could potentially get him down and submit him in round 1, but I just trust Volkov, his ability to fight through adversity a lot more than Almeida. Like, yes, it was impressive that he got like 8 takedowns on Curtis Blades, but he fucking died as soon as one punch was landed. And he hasn't faced serious adversity at all against Romanov or against Spivak. So those guys aren't going to bring any kind of adversity to him. Whereas I think Volkov is well-rounded enough to not get immediately subbed, hopefully. And, you know, if the fight does get extended, then he's shown that he has good cardio. He's pretty well-rounded. He's got some power on the feet. He can get on top, and I think that he could potentially make Almeida quit. You know, Almeida's been knocked out multiple times. Yeah, but, you know, to give your side some credit, if you look at the Romanov pricing, Almeida was minus 500 to Romanov, whereas Volkov was pick'em to Romanov.
I mean, look, if it turns into a dogfight, I think Volkov will probably finish him.
But how is it not going to be a dogfight is my question.
I just don't really view. So, like, I mean, Jailton Almeida in like 10 UFC fights with like many rounds of action has allowed like under 70 total significant strikes absorbed. Like, the guy isn't just winning fights in the aggregate. He's like outright dominating them. And he's fought some pretty good grapplers over that period of time. And with the exception of Blades, still mostly cooked them, you know? And so, I mean, it's possible I'm wrong. And
who did he run through?
I mean, well, I guess he didn't run through Spivak. There was some adversity in that fight. Romanov, he ran through with ease.
Yes.
You know, and
he's a fat fuck, though.
Turkali, he ran through with ease. Obviously, that's not the best the best example we're talking about. But like, I guess my question is, it's like, is Volkov going to be able to initiate scrambles? Like, I cannot get over. To me, the worst, it's not even the Blades fight. Like, Blades took Volkov down 14 times, but Volkov got up a bunch in that fight. It's really seeing just how fetal he was when Aspinall got on top of him. And, you know, someone with actual jiu-jitsu, he seemed totally lost both times he got taken down and was submitted relatively easily in that fight. And I just feel like, you know, if that's happening and if he's allowing 4.5 minutes of control to Gane,
like, dude, say what you want about Gane, but Gane is a big motherfucker who's like, he's like 29 and like an athletic freak.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you, but I mean, look, if you think Almeida can get up easily, then yeah, I mean, Volkov can get up easily, he's going to win this fight. I just do not think he will, personally.
So what do you think he's going to do? Like, take his back and sub him right away?
I'm not sure if he'll sub him right away. I think that's a fairly plausible outcome. I do think he's going to be able to control him, though, potentially get a body triangle on him and hold him there. You know, Aspinall passed his guard pretty easily. I don't really see why Jailton can't if he consolidates top time. And Volkov can't really give his back to get up to him. You know, I think one of the big issues that Almeida had fighting Blades, the sheer girth of Blades, so to speak, made it, you know, kind of keeps you from being able to get a body triangle on someone that big.
Volkov is girthy, bro.
Not like Blades is, or not like Lewis is either.
We have to compare girth with Volkov and Blades. They're both fucking big heavyweights, bro.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
Volkov has put on some size, dude.
He has. I mean, look, again, I just, to me, my base case here is it's going to be, you know, yeah, I mean, what Matt just said, it's like, sometimes maybe it's not this simple, but like it kind of was with Khamzat, you know, where it's like Khamzat, you know, everybody said a lot of the same things, you know, no one's really extended him. And then it turns out, yeah, he's just a dominant fighter. Like Almeida really, other than that one terrible moment against Blades, I mean, he's just absolutely run through everybody that's been put in front of him. Now, maybe Volkov's the best heavyweight in the world or one of the best 2 or 3 heavyweights in the world.
He clearly is one of the best. He
yeah,
clearly
I
is
agree.
a top 5 heavyweight.
I agree with that.
That might not be saying much. You know, heavyweight's pretty shallow.
Yeah, it is very shallow. I mean, heavyweight's awful. I mean, everybody at heavyweight is just obese with the exception of the top guys.
Yeah, like I think Jalton is a great hammer and a terrible now. So and it's like, dude, it's price.
Yeah.
What, I just think plus 200 on Volkov is a decent play in my opinion. Because of the flakiness that we've seen from Almeida, because we've seen some mistakes. Like, yeah, he knocked out Spivak, but he was sloppy on the ground with Spivak, you know, he had his back, let Spivak get on top, very loose with his body triangle. So like, if he makes a mistake like that in the grappling, his fights can just snowball. In my opinion, that's what I'm speculating about the guy. And, you know, so far he hasn't shown that he can fight through adversity to me. So,
all right, fair enough. We will see.
I'm fading the syndicate action.
Moving on, we've got Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Mario Batista. Current price, Nurmagomedov minus 625. The comeback on Batista plus 475. What do you think here?
It's after this fight, it's going to be Mario Barista when he's working at Starbucks. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like, fuck. I think the line, it makes sense that Umar is a huge favorite, but yeah, obviously I'm not going to be laying the juice on Umar. Mario is just so well-rounded, such a solid fighter that, you know, he can. It's not like we haven't seen Umar dropped before in a fight, and he's getting. I'm not going to say he's getting a step up, but it's bantamweight, like these high-level bantamweights. One guy's plus 475. What's the over?
It's definitely bigly juiced. Let me see.
Yeah, I don't have any hot takes on this fight. It's just whether you want to donate on Mario or not.
It really feels like they're doing Umar a favor by making this a 3-round fight and not a 5-round fight. That's headlining a fight night, you know, because I'd actually feel pretty good about Mario if it was a 5-round fight in this kind of a fight. But I guess he could win. I mean, he could win this fight, but sure. I do think, you know, this is the kind of fight where Umar can pretty much get his grappling going fairly easily here. You know, Mario's got good takedown defense, but once he's grounded, he does give his back up and go to all fours to get up. And I just feel like the body triangles early in this fight for Umar, if he wants him, will be there. I think he's got better footwork. I don't think Mario is going to be able to abuse him in the clinch like he's been able to default to at times. I think Mario overwhelming him is in play. It's not like inconceivable, you know, that Mario could just like overwhelm him on the feet, maybe get up and stop the body triangle. But
what's Batista by decision?
It's probably got to be huge.
It's not. That's crazy. It's the same price as his money line, basically.
That's a little absurd.
I mean, I think I'll probably chuck a little bet on Mario before the fight starts.
I mean, intuitively, it feels like it's very, very difficult for Umar to be 88% against Mario. Like that just doesn't really make.
It's like, dude, he got dropped by fucking Bescat in round 1. The Cacramano fight in PFL was a 29-28. He hasn't really dominated, and he hasn't. His only ranked win is fucking Sandhagen, and it wasn't like a massive blowout. Like he won
No.
clean, but like whatever. Like
And
Mario
Mario,
can
like,
fight as good as Sandhagen.
I mean, Umar's better than Blackshear by a lot, but like Blackshear's grappling is probably, I don't want to say same level, but it's pretty, his jiu-jitsu is very, very good, you know, and Mario basically neutralized it for most of that fight. And like if Mario neutralizes the grappling here, I'm pretty positive Umar's not minus 600 on the feet. Not even minus 300 on the feet, to be honest. But I don't know, man. I don't really want to get in front of Umar off. Like it feels like the UFC is trying to like do him a favor and throw him back in the title fight by giving a title picture by giving him a 3-round fight on a pay-per-view in the Middle East. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would make sense for this fight to be a 5-rounder.
Yeah. That would make a lot more sense.
Because the winner of this is going to fight for the title. So
yeah, for sure. Which is kind of annoying. Does anybody?
Yeah,
really
it is fucking bullshit that it's not a 5-rounder.
They should just let Mario fight for the title. Like that's much more compelling.
Well, they already booked Jan, right?
Oh, that's right. So it's like until someone beats Marab, we're just gonna do now a carousel of people he's fought until he loses.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm with you. I don't feel like particularly strongly about it. I do feel strongly about the next fight. It's Verna Jandaroba. She's taking on Mackenzie Durn. It's a rematch. Durn's minus 160. The comeback on Jandaroba is plus 140. Verna's my girl. Better a million times. I think this is a really bad fight for her. I actually bet her in the first booking of this fight at like plus 140, I think, in part because I felt like very, very confident that she wouldn't be blown out on the feet because Durn was really bad on the feet back then. And that I thought she had some like real top time equity, especially in a 3-round fight. On the rebooking here, I feel a lot less certain about all of that. Even after seeing what we saw in the first fight, Verna did get on top of her once and she got swept right as the bell rang. Which, the next time she didn't try to get on top of her again after that, really. Durn was the one trying to initiate most of the grappling. Even on the feet, she mostly lost against a very raw Durn. Durn's obviously made large improvements striking since that fight, and she's much more confident in her striking now and much more willing to go forward and throw hands. So I feel like she's giving away a pretty large striking advantage here. She can land on Durn because Durn's very hittable, but I think Durn's got way more horsepower and is way more aggressive. I feel like Durn's got more trustworthy cardio deep into a fight. I kind of feel like Verna's best path here is going to be to try to initiate the grappling and stay safe. And she could, it's not impossible. I could see it happening, but I do think if she tries to shoot like 10 takedowns here, 1, she's going to get tired down the stretch. 2, she's probably going to get swept a couple times. And I'm not convinced that she's going to, be able to sweep Durn if Durn gets on top of her. So it's like that dynamic already makes it kind of a dicey fight for Verna. I think Durn's much more likely to hurt her on the feet. I think Durn's much more likely by a lot to finish the fight on the feet and on the mat. And I mean, I love Verna and she's almost 38 years old though. Durn's in her prime and seems to be like really going for it here. I just feel like all of the macro points to Durn. I think she should be in like the minus 180, minus 190 range personally. What do you think, Pepe?
Mackenzie Durn fight week.
Let's go.
She's gonna ship it for the boys. I like the 5-round component for Mackenzie. I think the age dynamic is great for her too. I like her tenacity. I think it's a pretty solid stylistic matchup for her. She seems to really struggle against the power hitters, which Verna is not. I personally think that it's going to go long. It's going to be a Durn decision. I think Verna is tough. Honestly, she's never been finished. I don't really see a finish here necessarily. I think that if things start going downhill for Verna, I think she's going to know how to stay safe on bottom. I think she's just going to camp and, pull guard if she needs to. If she's under fire on the feet and facing adversity, I think she'll pull guard. Mackenzie will get on top. I think she'll know how to stall to survive. So I do think it's going to go long, and I do think that it's going to be Mackenzie Durn by decision.
Yeah, I agree. Rich saying, do you think she'll gas? I think she could. I mean, the thing is though, I could also see like I was really surprised in the first fight that like now it's been years, so maybe it'll be a different approach. I was really surprised at how okay she was with striking in that fight versus at least trying to like go to her best strength. So it's possible she just sits back, and like tries to do the same thing a bit.
Even the Verna fight against Rebus is not a great look either.
I mean, I love Verna, but like, let's be real here. They matched her up. This run to the title was Angela Hill, where she kind of slowed down late in that fight. Marina Rodriguez can't grapple. Loopy, she kind of got pretty fortunate there.
Yes.
That she got 2 back takes that kind of stole the fight.
Loopy made some critical fight IQ errors in a very winnable fight.
And was minus 180, Lemos can't really grapple, and then she got Jianan, who can't really grapple. So, now she's getting somebody who can beat her potentially everywhere, who's much younger than her. I feel like, and if Verna wins, you know what? I love Verna. Then, then I'll enjoy watching her submit, put Zhang unconscious, in a couple of years. That'll be in a year or two.
When she fights Tabitha Ricci for the strawweight title.
Oh my God. Dude, women's strawweight's kind of a fucking mess right now that this is a title fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. I'm still sick over my DraftKings future. That
was you really nailed that.
Dude, I was telling everyone, I don't know if I told everyone, but I definitely posted it somewhere, and I was like, Mackenzie Durn is 350-1 to be champ next year. And I just thought that she had multiple outs to get there. Like, this was one of the outs where I honestly wasn't predicting this to happen, but I knew that she was only like 1 fight away from the title because I'm pretty sure this was after the Godinez fight that I placed it. I placed it in November of 2024.
Yeah, which she was August 2024.
Yeah, so I was like, dude, she's like 2 fights away from the fucking belt. Like, Loopy is someone who's high up in the rankings. It's a great win to have. So yeah, then she got the Rebus fight. So I figured that she had maybe 2 fights, and they went a while without booking her. So
yeah, that was great. It's unfortunate that Hank dropped the ball.
Yeah, it is what it is. I hope she gets it though.
But now we move on to a pretty compelling fight, and I'm very curious your opinion on this one. We haven't really talked about this one very much. Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, current price, Aspinall minus 400, the comeback on Gane plus 300. What do you think here?
I think Aspinall is going to win, but I'm betting Gane. Just because we still haven't seen Aspinall pushed past a round and a half. And I get everyone is so low on Gane because he was easily grappled in his steps up in competition. But the guy is super athletic. He can fight for 5 rounds. He does have some power on the feet, despite like only being known as kind of a volume striker. He definitely has kind of a beta mindset, in my opinion. Like, before the Francis fight, like, I thought like Ciryl Gane was possibly like a heavyweight goat, because like, dude, they just don't make fighters with his.
He's the best heavyweight striker ever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the way he can move on the feet is just, it's crazy at his size. And then you have Aspinall, where it's like, I mean, Aspinall has some striking flaws. Like, obviously the guy has power. He has a ton of power and a ton of athleticism early, but he's never fucking gone 15 minutes. Never mind 25 minutes.
Dude, he's never been over 1.5 in the UFC.
Yeah. So it's like, fuck, dude, if you're going to give me plus 3XX on Ciryl here, I think I like Gane money line, and I like the under too, to cover that. But I don't know, man. Like, I obviously think that he's going to be in a lot of he's going to have issues early. Like Tom is a motherfucker in round 1.
I mean, the price is really saying that Aspinall is going to blow him out on the mat. That's essentially what the price is saying, you know? Like if they're standing, if you told me they strike for 5 rounds,
oh my God,
I'd make Gane a favorite.
Yeah.
You know, so I do feel like, look, is it likely that Aspinall attempts a takedown? I think so. I think that's probably going to happen, right? But the guy's only landed 4 takedowns in the UFC. It's not like he's a guy who's come out, with the exception of the Volkov fight, he's really never come out looking to shoot. Maybe he can insta-tap Gane, but like I do sort of think, you know, comparing Aspinall to John Jones is a bit extreme, you know, in terms of grappling. I feel like fairly comfortable saying that John Jones is a better grappler than Tom Aspinall is.
How dare you? Tom is the GOAT.
I mean, and look, he could come out and just make us look like fools and insta-tap Gane, right? That's obviously.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm betting the under too.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously in play. He could knock him out early in this fight. I do feel like, though, first of all, we know Gane's been training grappling, right? You know, he made a lot of dumb, low IQ decisions against Volkov, but he looked way, way, way more competent, you know, than he did before when it was like against Francis and he just kind of was like laying there like a fish. And I also think like Gane could potentially just explode up a couple times. Like, is Aspinall really going to have the cardio to attempt like 8, 9, 10 takedowns here without gassing? I don't think so, man. I know it's an unknown, his cardio, but the dude is so muscle strapped and everything he does is so explosive. Like, can you name anybody like that who's got like 3-round grappling cardio, much less 5-round grappling cardio?
Not a heavyweight.
Yeah, it's just very, very hard to do that. So yeah, I mean, there's a good chance he subs Gane early in this fight. There's also, I think, a reasonably good chance he doesn't shoot, to be honest with you. I actually think that that's pretty live that he doesn't attempt a single takedown in this fight, at least not early. And yeah, I mean, Rich just brought up the Arlovsky fight. He did look like he was slowing down against Arlovsky in round 2 before he knocked him out. Honestly, I feel like we gotta. I like Gane, and I also kind of feel like you got to look at like Gane late in this fight, you know, in like the 3, 4, 5 KO range there. I just think like,
I'm sure the numbers are insane.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. They're not great. They're not horrible.
They're not great. What?
Let's see. For round 3 KO, 2,200, round 4, 3,000, round 5 is 3,500. But that's still enough for me to like, if he clears the first 2 rounds of this fight, there's a very strong chance he's going to put it on.
What's Gane by heel hook round 3?
Oh my God. That would be outrageous.
Heel hook. like Stuart Austin.
I actually think Gane's kind of got underrated finishing instincts when he's got a tired guy in front of him, to be honest with you. You know, he really fucking put it on Spivak. He put it on Lewis big, like toward down the stretch in that fight. If Aspinall slows down and Gane feels like he can open up on him, he will, you know. He's done it before. So
yeah, it's an interesting fight.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised the under is plus money.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering Aspinall's never been 1.5 in his career.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, it makes very little sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I kind of want to bet it on principle.
How do you price it? I think like, you know, the 67, 68% range for Aspinall is like fine. You know, it's maybe even 70, but
yeah, I do kind of think there's a lot of recency bias in this line, considering how bad Cyril looked against Volkov, and it was like one of his worst performances of all time. So
also low key, this is good narrative here. Rich saying Alex and Dubai waiting to face off in the main. It is true. They're not booking him in England. They're booking him in Dubai. You know,
who, Alex Pereira?
No, Cyril Gane and Aspinall. You know, it's their. The UFC keeps giving Cyril Gane chances. You know, the guy literally robbed Volkov, and they're still giving him a title fight here. It's pretty clear.
Well, I don't know if this narrative is fitting for Aspinall versus fucking.
No, I'm saying for Gane.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, because, like, I mean, obviously Pereira would much rather fight Gane than Aspinall.
Yeah. That would be a fucking hilarious fight. Oh my god. Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane.
Pereira, first man ever to win a title in 3 divisions.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
It is pretty.
Dude, his path to victory is fucking Cyril Gane.
Yeah. It's very, very, it's right there. It's right in front of him.
And then Aspinall takes it from Pereira.
No, dude, if Pereira went and fuck on and beats him, he's gonna retire right away. You know, he's not fighting Tom Aspinall.
Well, I don't know, because now every fight he takes is like huge.
It's true.
I don't
a lot
know.
of money.
I think he cares about the money.
Yeah, and if he fights like Jones in DC, but that would be John Jones' ideal outcome.
I don't think. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Cyril Gane winning the title.
Yeah.
And Dana will definitely give him the title shot against Gane or Pereira Jones.
You think?
In a second, dude. Dude, Dana White loves John Jones, man.
I thought he was like done with him now.
It's what he says, but I mean, John Jones is like one of the few guys that still sells tickets, in the organization.
Still sells blow.
Yeah, and
he's one of the few guys you can do blow with at a UFC event.
He still gets after it, from what I've heard. I had a couple buddies run into him in Miami a couple months ago. Said he was going pretty hard.
That would be scenes to party with John Jones.
That would be awesome, honestly. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna do it, guys. Pepe, thanks for coming by tonight. Really appreciate it. Had a fun time. Compelling show. Guys, again, drop a like, subscribe, share the pod. I really appreciate it. Follow Pepe at Pepe_Silvia716. Pepe, anything else you want to shout them out?
Well, if you like the video, give it a like. If you don't like it, then suck John's fucking dick. No, man. People know where to find me. Good luck, everyone, this weekend. And yeah.
Talk soon, guys. Peace.
Peace.